Big bucks, no whammies. Perfect. Everyone is here with the exception of Mayor Wade and Councilmember Josh Rivero. I'll be sitting in for the mayor this evening. We always do start off the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. So Ian, you came in and talked to us a minute ago. We're going to ask Ian to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody could please stand, and I'm probably the only guy wearing a hat. So Ian, we're going to turn around since the flag's back here. So you just, when we turn around, then the show is yours, partner. So you start and we'll all follow along, okay?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Ian.
All right. So again, Mayor Wade is out tonight, so you'll have to tolerate me this evening. But Michelle, any special presentations tonight? I don't think there was anything. I always look up there, Chief, anybody you need to give an award to? Or? No, nothing tonight. All right.
Can we get a badge?
Chamber of Commerce updates. I didn't see Dennis.
So we're rolling.
So we'll go ahead and move on to the Downtown Business Alliance, but I didn't see Shelley either. So. Did it? Yeah.
It's the first meeting of the month.
Oh, is it the first?
Yes,
Okay.
but if you look on your little paper there,
Okay, I don't read real well. I thought you knew
here,
that.
take my glasses.
Wow.
So
It's
we'll move on. Thank you. I have my own. They're over here. So we'll move on to item number 5, which is general public comment. So this is anybody's able to come up and address the council on anything that is not on the agenda tonight. If there is a hearing on the agenda, there will be public comment for that at any time. We do give you 3 minutes for public comment. We'll have you come up to the podium, ask that you provide your name and address for the record, and then you can speak to the council for up to 3 minutes on anything that might suit your fancy. So I will go ahead and open public comment at 7:04. Is there anybody here wishing to address the council this evening? Going once, twice? We'll close public comment at 7:05. Move on to reports and items from mayor and council. Mr. Dyak.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Let's see here. July 4th, Stars and Stripes celebration. The mayor and I attended that fantastic event the town put on. Thank you to all who attended. Discovery Park concerts. We have had 2, I think, since we've last convened. Chris Daniels and the Kings in the long run. It looked like we had about 800 to Chris Daniels and probably over 2,000 to the long run, the Eagles tribute band. So that was, I think, very well attended on both respects. July 10th, we had Parker Jacks Day. We tried to set a personal best, a Parker record for the amount of people playing jacks. The mayor attended, as well as council members Williams, myself, and council member Holland also attended as well. And then we have started doing liaison meetings with each of the departments. Myself and Councilmember Holland had a cultural liaison meeting on the 12th, and I had a liaison meeting with Public Works in absence of Councilmember Rivero, and both went fantastic for the first meeting. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Debbie.
Speaking of the Downtown Business Alliance, we had a meeting last week, and I'd just like to give kudos. Mr. Cleveland and Dennis Trapp did the presentation each week. Excuse me. Each time we meet, we try to do something that is pertinent to what is going on, and they gave visual and auditory reports that went really well. There were excellent questions asked by the people that attended that meeting, so they did a great job. I'm liaison to the Partnership of Douglas County Governments, and I get to go to that meeting at 7 a.m. this Wednesday morning.
Yes.
Which is your favorite time?
It is my
day?
very favorite time of day.
Renee?
So in addition to some of the things that Councilman Dyak said, we've been having PAR branding meetings, committee meetings with Jason Rogers, who's in back, the tall guy back there, the very tall guy back there. So we're excited to, in the very near future, share that information with all of you. And then I also was able to attend the dress rehearsal for Hairspray, and once again, Inspire Creative has done an amazing job of putting on a performance. So if you don't have your tickets yet, get your tickets and see the show. That's it.
Super. Amy?
I had a Centennial Airport Community Noise Roundtable Subcommittee meeting, and that's primarily, I've talked about this a little bit before. The roundtable basically meets, it's all municipalities around the area of Centennial, and we work on noise mitigation, education, and just trying to help the community if they ever have any concerns about, air traffic over their neighborhoods, things like that. The subcommittee was for the community outreach group, and basically we just updated the website, which is centennialairportnoise.com. We're working on social media outlets throughout all the municipalities and also town newsletters just to get the word out on certain things that might be going on. For example, they shut down one of the runways, so one runway was being used more often, therefore it was a little bit heavier air traffic over in one area. So things like that, we just want to make sure that people are aware of what's going on in their communities. We had our PACE liaison meeting, and then I also attended the Colorado Freedom Memorial fundraiser. We have 3 soldiers from Parker whose names are actually on that memorial. One is actually on one of the glass panels, and then the glass panel that most of you may know of that was vandalized did not have names on it as of yet, but they were trying to raise about $55,000 to replace that panel. And then I think there's about maybe approximately 44 names that were waiting. So they had them etched in a stone, like a flagstone nearby. 2 of our Parker's soldiers are currently on that stone. One, well, I'm just going to go down the list. We have Sean Atkins, who was in Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was in the Army and passed away in 2004. And then we have Thomas Claiborne. He was also in Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was in the Marine Corps, passed away in 2009. And then Corporal David Sanka, who was in Operation Afghanistan Enduring Freedom. And he's also one of the soldiers that we recently named our dog park after him and his dog Flex. So Thomas Claiborne and David Sanka will hopefully have their names etched in the new glass that will be replaced here very soon. And that's all I have for now.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, ma'am.
I was remiss, and we all know that Jim Cleveland and Dennis Trapp are the heads of the Recreation and Parks Department, but some people here may not. So that presentation to the Downtown Business Alliance had to do with updates on all of our parks and trails and what is going on with the different scenarios all around town. As you might imagine, one of the items that had many questions about was the Reuter Hess Reservoir. Even though some of the people there have been here a long time and some have been there a short time, we gave the information out that even though it says Parker Water and Sanitation, that is a separate entity. It's a quasi-governmental entity in and of itself and is not under the auspice of the town at all. That we, the town of Parker, are consumers and customers just like everyone else, no matter if you're an individual or you're paying for a commercial or retail spot with Parker Water and Sand. So it was surprising to me that as many people that were there still were not aware that 2 separate groups. And we explained that we don't get a brother-in-law deal just because we share the same first name.
Perfect. All right. So our next item is
Do you
our,
have any updates?
don't you see how I just moved on past
I
that?
see that. Okay.
Everybody had so many things to say. I didn't really need to add to that. So next item is item number 7. That's our consent agenda. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There'll be no separate discussion of consent agenda items unless a council member votes to have an item removed for individual discussion. Ordinance on the consent agenda are for introduction only and will not be removed for discussion. So with that, council, I would need a motion on consent agenda items A through J.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Amy and a second from Renee. Council, please vote. And that motion passes unanimously. Next item number 8, is our town administrator report. Michelle, anything to add? I know for everybody, our town administrator's report is posted on the town's website on a monthly basis. But anything to add to?
Very nice display there.
Yes.
Thank you, yes. We do have one item that I've asked the acting deputy town administrator to update.
Mr. Cleveland, the
I
floor
guess
is
that's
yours.
me. Saturday, we hosted the MS Muck Fest out at Salisbury Park North. Had a great turnout. Mayor was there with his team. We didn't get a final number yet from that group, but we believe we had over 2,700 people participating. And
Wow.
I was out there taking pictures for a good chunk of the day and did not avoid getting muddy myself. So my car will have to be detailed now as a result of that.
The price,
all.
the price you have to pay for.
Exactly.
Nice. Excellent. All right, anything else, Michelle? Or was
No,
that-
that's it.
Perfect.
Thanks.
With that, we'll start our public hearings. First item is item number 9. Where'd it go? Hang on. I never look at this on paper. Did you ever see this thing? Holy cow.
Yeah.
So item 9, yikes. I don't even know where the thing is, Jim. Bear with me 1 second. Technical difficulties for the new kid. 'Cause it's not.
Yours is, no, you don't have the full, so it's just the
Yeah.
Verizon commercial
Do you need it?
mobile radio services.
Yeah, it's a use by special review for the Verizon Commercial Mobile Radio Services CRMS facility, and you don't look like Carolyn.
Unfortunately, I
You
don't.
don't.
I can speak in a little higher register if that helps.
I'm sorry, your name.
My name is Paul Workman.
Paul, the floor is yours, partner.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. It is a pleasure to be here this evening on behalf of Carolyn. As was just alluded to, the public hearing this evening is for Verizon Commercial Mobile Radio Services Facility. It's a use by special review. The applicant is also here this evening and has a short presentation for council after staff's presentation. The request this evening is again for a commercial mobile radio service facility, a CMRS, within an existing utility, Excel utility corridor. The proposed site is located west of Jordan Road and north of Todd Drive. It is within an existing electrical transmission line corridor. Concrete east-west trail is along the southern border. The site is relatively flat with a lot of native vegetation. The structure itself, the ground-mounted equipment will be enclosed with a 544 square foot, 8-foot tall, split-face concrete masonry unit, or what's referred to as CMU. Within that will be 3 outdoor equipment cabinets and other associated equipment. The antennas are proposed to be located on the distribution tower, up to 9 antennas mounted at 58.8 inches, painted to match the tower. This is an image showing the existing conditions today. And this is an image showing the proposed conditions with the enclosure at ground level and then the arrays attached to the distribution line. The facility is unmanned. It will be maintained by light trucks and repair vehicles. Access is to be obtained from Jordan Road via a 17-foot wide easement. The easement is a private easement between Excel and Verizon. It does include a portion of the east-west trail, and as recommended in the conditions in just a moment, there are restrictions as to the types of vehicles that can access the equipment and where they would be required to park. In terms of mitigating the visual impacts, the code does require the mitigation of visual impacts, hence the CMU enclosure that will match the existing native landscaping. In addition to that, the lease that was negotiated between Excel and Verizon prohibits the installation of landscaping for any additional buffering. In place of that, the applicant has agreed to pay to the town a sum of money that the town's parks department would then use in turn to purchase a bike amenity that would serve the east-west trail. That location to be determined by the Parks Department in order to have that be at an optimal location where it will get the most use. In terms of evaluating the approval criteria, there are 9 criteria outlined in staff's report. All use by special reviews are required to meet those 9 criteria. Staff has determined that those 9 criteria have been satisfied or will be satisfied with the recommended conditions. The conditions that are outlined in staff's report are, 1, that the use by special review materials submitted to the Community Development Department on June 6th shall be the approved special review materials. Any alterations to those are at the discretion of the Community Development Director, who reserves the right to require those to be approved by Planning Commission. Number 2, that the approval shall expire within 12 months after the date of the approval, unless a grading permit has been issued, and the ability to have 190-day extension at the approval of the Community Development Director. The 3rd is that the approval of this use by special review, that's fine, does not constitute building permit approval. They still need to receive their approved building permit before they start construction. 4, that the access restrictions at the facility are that no parking of vehicles will be allowed on the east-west trail. That parking will only be allowed on the east side of the equipment enclosure. They will have to post signage that's approved by the town in order to ensure that. That only light-duty and maintenance trucks would be allowed on the trail. There would be a prohibition on heavy-duty trucks on those trails. And then 5th, that the applicant would pay to the town $2,000 that will be used to purchase the bike amenity prior to the issuance of their building permit. And then the Parker Parks and Recreation Department will determine the most appropriate location for that amenity. In conclusion, staff has determined that the use by special review for a CMRS facility in the Piesco utility easement meets the goals of the master plan to provide sustainable and reliable public service to residents, businesses, and visitors. That the request provides adequate visual mitigation and compatibility with the current utility use, and that it meets or can meet the criteria for use by special review subject to the 5 conditions contained in the staff report. With that, the Planning Commission held a public hearing on July 13th of 2017 and unanimously recommended approval for the request. Additionally, staff and the Planning Commission recommend that Town Council approve the use by special review to construct a CMRS facility subject to the 5 conditions contained in the staff report. And that would conclude staff's presentation for this evening. Certainly, staff's available for any questions you might have, and the applicant also has a short presentation for Town Council this evening.
Thanks, sir. Any questions before we have the applicant come up?
Not at this time.
Perfect. Ma'am, the floor is yours. If, again, you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Absolutely. Good evening. My name is Pam Goss, and my address is 867 Snyder Mountain Road, Evergreen, Colorado. Next, please. So I'm here to talk a little bit more about and to provide a little more information regarding this proposal. The design will include antennas located on an existing electrical transmission tower. Base station equipment is located at ground level adjacent to the tower. It's designed to blend into the surrounding materials, vegetation, and in colors, and the equipment shall be concealed and secured within this enclosure. Next, please. So as you saw before, we have an existing view without the facility, and our next view is showing it with the antennas and the ground equipment enclosed at the base. So why this location? Essentially, there are 3 search criteria that we come up with. Generally speaking, we've got a network coverage gap that's been identified. Alternative locations are not feasible. And we also tried to design the least intrusive design possible for the community. Next, please. So network coverage gap, a Verizon engineer, network RF engineer, generated this map to identify a location or a specific site search area for optimal coverage. So they essentially have indicated that this area is in need of additional coverage, and this is the area we limited our search to. So the search area objectives. We want to provide enhanced coverage for surrounding residents and travelers through the community. Cover as much as possible without interfering to the neighboring existing sites, Verizon sites to the north, south, east, and west within the network, and accommodate any future technologies in this rapidly growing neighborhood. We're also talking about accommodating 5G technologies as the handsets begin to evolve. We'd like to accommodate those technologies as well. Our alternative site candidate analysis shows we essentially are in a residential neighborhood with the right-of-way, the XL right-of-way running through with the transmission lines. If you look at the outline of the search area, we really only had one feasible location. If we had chosen to go outside of that search area to the closest sites, those two both have existing facilities on those transmission towers. So it's the only feasible location. It's non-residential in use. There's an existing vertical structure in place, and we'll have minimal ground disturbance. So in order to build a site, it must be technically feasible, leasable, and buildable. And I just wanted to go over a little bit about the ground equipment considerations and location and proximity to the east-west trail. Efforts have been made to locate this ground equipment to be the least impactful. We've looked at all of the locations 1, 2, and 3 and have determined that number 3 is the most feasible. The north location, XL will not allow because they're putting in another line. East and west of the existing tower, we must be 75 feet away from the tower and underneath the lines. That distance is too far to communicate with the antennas to the ground equipment. So the south location was the only location feasible for Verizon. So looking at the ground footprint, you can see in the yellow, we have the footprint of the tower, and the antenna structures will be on an existing tower, so we're not building another structure there. Below that, to the south, 10 feet away, as provided by XL, we have located the ground equipment and have tried to position the equipment within the ground space so that it is long and narrow so that we can maximize the distance to the east-west trail. So again, this is just another view so you can see how narrow we've tried to make this facility. Again, trying to maximize the amount of distance between the facility and the east-west trail. Again, in line with this least intrusive design, the materials and enclosure are all chosen to blend into the natural surroundings. So the south wall of the facility, this is a few different views from different directions along the trail. South wall of the facility will be 40 feet 6 inches from the nearest property line and 10 feet 6 inches from the north edge of the east-west trail. In response to the department comments that we received, there will be no vehicle parking on the east-west trail. Designated parking area on the east side of the equipment enclosure will be determined, and that's where all maintenance vehicles will need to park. And then light-duty maintenance vehicles will be the only vehicles allowed at that facility. So with that, that ends my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm available to answer.
Super. Any questions, folks, before we open it up for public comment? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So with that, I'll go ahead and open, since this is a use by special review, I'll open it up for public comment at 7:27 PM. Again, this is your opportunity to come address council on this matter. You will have your 3 minutes, and please, if you do choose to speak, please give us your name and address for the record at the beginning. So is there anybody here for public comment on this item? And a hush falls over the crowd. With that, I'll close public comment at 7:27. If there's any further discussion or a motion, please.
I move to approve based upon staff findings with the following, or with the conditions contained in the staff report.
Second?
Got a motion from John Dyak and a second from Debbie Lewis. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. With that, our final item of the evening is ordinance number 3.01.114, which is a bill for an ordinance to amend Chapter 13.12 of the Parker Municipal Code concerning wireless communication facilities. This item was continued from July 3rd, 2017, and Mr. Maloney, my understanding is the desire is to continue it again.
That is correct. A second reading would be continued if council agrees to the September 21st meeting. I'm sorry, the August 21st meeting.
Okay. And council, in order to continue that to August 21, I would need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second?
Got a motion from Amy and a second from Debbie. All in favor? Council, please vote. And that item has been continued to the August 21st meeting. With that, we have no other business in front of council, so we will adjourn at 7:28 PM. Thank you, everybody, for being here this evening. And that was quick and easy, and now I have to sign stuff for Carol and all sorts of fun.